I suggest that in your leisure time you perform the following experiment with your students, individually or collectively. Ask them what intellectual standards they use to determine whether to accept a belief or to reject it. And you will find, here's my prediction, that they have no idea whatsoever of using any standard. But if you pay attention to them, the judgments they make, their standards will either be egocentric, sociocentric, or dogmatically arbitrary.
There you go. That's the one.
Dogmatic absolutism and subjective relativism are rampant because the students have no standards. And they have no standards because their teachers are not teaching them any standards. Whereas I would expect that a student who went through a class of mine, I would at least hope they would say, clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, depth, breadth, logic, significance, depth, not what do you mean by that? And I would also expect that they could explain what the standard means and why it's important. And they will do this if we have them assess each other's work using these standards and we model it for them so that they give feedback and say, it wasn't clear what the point was that you were making in the third paragraph. Could you elaborate further on that point? Or I think we need more precision in the answer. Could you give more details? I understand what you're saying, but I don't see its relevance to the question at issue. I don't see how it connects to the problem we're discussing. Perhaps I'm missing something. Maybe it's relevant in some way I didn't notice. Or have you considered looking at this from another point of view? Have you noticed the point of view that you are using? So if we use intellectual standards and keep them visible in the classroom and print them up and articulate them, it won't take long before students will start using them and the quality of their work will improve. If one has no idea what clarity is or how to achieve it, you can't strive for it. If one doesn't know what relevance is, many students think that when you use the word relevant, you mean connected to their life, as against bearing on the question under discussion. So intellectual standards are very important, and I find my students are able to use the standards with some degree of effectiveness. And in any case, they're much better off with standards than without them. And so I think each of us should look at our design for instruction and bring intellectual standards into the picture. Then, by the way, we can connect our grading to those standards. Right now, most students think that grades are subjective. You get a good grade if the teacher likes you, you get a bad grade if the teacher doesn't like you. And they do not see us as sharing intellectual standards that are ancient and are not arbitrary. Imagine someone saying, well, my students are fairly good thinkers. The only problem is that when they think, their thinking is unclear, inaccurate, imprecise, irrelevant, superficial, narrow-minded, illogical, and trivial. But other than that, they think very well. So the intellectual standards speak for themselves.